Yemankwa Baba Kokromoti Power, your election headquarters. So far, so good. Dodo na eto aba. Adom TV, Adom FM, Inshira FM, Asempa FM, AdomOnline. Ni nyina makacho say aha ena results na ba. Yede bebro. But yenko na CODEO for a press conference. Yenko tie di omoka na afi ba yato aso.
Higher number of polling stations opening after 7:15 a.m. include the Northern, that's 52% of polling stations, OT 49%, Northeast 47%, Greater Accra 44%, and Eastern 42%. Most polling stations, that's about 90%, had the minimum number of election officials, that's 5. Another 10% had 1 to 4 officials at the time of setup. In 93% of polling stations where CODEO observers were located, electoral officials respected their status as Electoral Commission's accredited election observers and permitted them to observe the polls upon arrival. The remaining 7% of observers were later permitted to observe the elections. Set up for polls. According to CODEO's observers, the majority of polling stations had a representation of women among the EC officials. 14% had 5 women officials, 63% had 2 or 3 women, and 17% had just 1 woman. However, 6% of polling stations, CODEO observers reported no women among the EC officials. According to CODEO observers, presiding officers in 86% of polling stations are men. The remaining 14% of polling stations had women as presiding officers. CODEO observers reported that 98% of polling stations were set up to allow voters to mark their ballots in secret. However, the setup did not ensure vote secrecy in 2% of polling stations. They also reported that 6% of all polling stations were not accessible to persons with disabilities and older people. Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of setup, CODEO observers reported seeing polling agents of the 2 main political parties in almost all polling stations, that is the NPP 99%, NDC 99%. 1/3 of polling stations also had agents of independent candidates, that's 32%, and other parties 32%. CODEO observers' reports show that all polling stations had a ballot box, ballot papers, indelible ink, validating stamp, endorsing ink, and ink pad, while 99% had a voting screen and 82% had tactile ballot papers. However, in certain locations, materials arrived late, delaying the opening of the polling stations. According to CODEO observers, 74% of polling stations had the expected number of biometric devices, that is 2, and 26% had only 1 device. Our observers note that voter registers were made available at all polling stations. In almost all the polling stations, that's 99%, CODEO observers reported that ballot booklets had serial numbers in numeric order. Before voting started, CODEO observers could confirm that all the presidential and parliamentary ballot boxes were empty, sealed, and in plain view. CODEO observers again report seeing roaming and station security personnel at 98% of polling stations. Only 2% of polling stations were reported to have no security personnel. CODEO observers' report again shows that security personnel were unarmed at 78% of the polling stations. However, 20% of the polling stations had armed security personnel. Reported incidents. CODEO observers have reported a number of incidents at some polling stations. Some of the confirmed incidents so far include intimidation or harassment, that's 14 incidents, violence, 13 incidents, violation of voting procedures, 18 incidents, vote buying, bribery, 3 incidents, and various other incidents, that's 26 reported and confirmed. Some of the incidents reported so far include the following. At the CMB polling station in Pumpunasi, in Tano South, in the Afo region, the validating stamp for the parliamentary ballot paper was reported to be faulty, making it impossible to read when ballots were stamped. This halted the voting process for about 1 hour 40 minutes before voting resumed. At the DA Primary School, Tuani Kope, in South Tong constituency in the Volta region, parliamentary ballot papers were not available during the setup. EC officials brought the ballots subsequently at 10:45 a.m., after which the polling station opened at 10:50 a.m. At Nkuzezi Primary School at Nabdam in the Upper East, party leaders from both the NPP and the NDC were telling voters in line who to vote for. This caused anger among the voters and led to some fighting. A police officer later arrived and calmed the situation. At the Brekuso Daycare Center, 1 in the Kwapim South in the Eastern region, a voter was seen videotaping his ballot paper after marking it. At the Nungwa polling station, 1 in the Greater Accra region, 2 verification machines did not function properly for 2 hours. Voters were asked to go and return. At 10:15 a.m., the manual verification process was used to commence voting. The ballot paper booklets at the Papsi School, Santa Maria 2, Anya Sewutuom, Greater Accra, contained an inconsistent number of ballots ranging from 98 to 101. In Lejokuku, in Greater Accra, electoral material, including result forms, was damaged due to rain as it was kept outside of the EC district office. Conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, CODEO knows some of the initial challenges that characterize the opening of polls at some polling stations, including the late opening of some polling stations due to the late delivery of certain sensitive materials. CODEO, however, acknowledges the EC's swift resolution of most of these challenges, which have enabled voting to take place in a normal fashion. CODEO urges the general public to remain calm and exercise their right to vote if they have not already done so. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make this a great and memorable day. Thank you.
Power, your election headquarters, Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, and normal, when share the so far, or much say, baby or akoyi, baby or honswa, ankoyi, baby or honswa, as a call for Chrese, Toma E and B, Nina no Muguso observe now. But we show time now, I can bear 20 minutes, be nice at 2 abo. A Chrese, 2 Nina boa, naka. Don't hear me and na yewi into kwa koto aba koto ntem no one ka se me call ye no na time ne call 5 o'clock na ye wie je se we obi a wo line mu dada enye sa de a se no num ne nya body a wontimi enkoto aba nti ye ne ntem Dr. Amano utie CODEO fo ya o maka so far ba umun so kyereze nyoma ba ku mienu bi a ade a o say ye fa ne tra na say normal.
For elections, a banner battle say yeah, Parliament penny and the parliamentarian or representing nothing should be taken near bridge near and yet not correct. No, it should never be taken lightly. Say obi a war honomwa or betwaba no culture say to see and not maintain. And it is a no and yeah, yes, say so cry. But I'm happy with CODEO by like midday say for instance we have 99% of ballot papers being serially numbered. And no we to media as say number way nim so abefra, so meaning the numbering of the ballot papers orderly 99%, which for me we are research 99% are near perfect. Now security presence our patch say about 98% of police stations or security presence. That is also good enough for Ghana. Just 2%. I'm saying 2%. 2%, no. Near Bisa IGP ne na pam for say ne ban saying, and 2% of police stations, no. Omo any security presence bia. Na no sana say BBC who are we asking? And into yesterday say things should be put in place in a bear. Security presence should be everywhere to make sure that everything goes well. And now, I say, because I'm in political science and I'm interested in the issues of elections,
definitely.
98% provision was made for secret balloting. 98%. Nana mi bisa say 2% no say me take ana me ye bibi for near me vote amano no any secret no aren't we flouting the provision in our own constitution that our elections shall be by secret ballot? In the honour no na yesterday provision is so mo yesen ebe ya room say question the process. No? Everything should be put in place. But I think per their reports, maybe I am okay with what is happening. There are some few issues, but those issues, I don't think they are enough to affect the integrity of the process so far. We commend the EC and the security forces and the people of Ghana. Right. Boy, homework pass. Few issues of violence, or I think I said 13 so far. Nobody's blood should be shed in any elections. It is needless. It is not worth the life of any individual. It is not worth a drop of blood. And this will be a major form because of elections. I'm mindful for us in elections, you know, and young people say more. A policy don't matter policies na yako na omakotoaba. Simple, and I think Ghana gradually we are getting there, and we will definitely get there. Our democracy is doing very well.
Dr. Amano say, Dr. Nkrumah, who science say, ain't China akadon hremi ensape. Me monitor baby kakra still ano low turnout kakra womb, and I'm wondering, say, apathy neba na say nkofo na umufili say yatwa ba na say. Yeah, Teso last minute. I mean, it drew say because 3 hours there. And you're simple how.
So shit, yeah, course once an election year. But we never doing senka. Although now sentiments maybe say yen to know. And Brad and Dra say, we see some see what bus stations. My love will be also Kosuaniako, Twaba, doctor. As at 8 minutes, I say, hey, VIP war, and yeah, easy. Why bassa dig crow, not ticket to cry. And to Sunyani and Kotwaba Nintina. Expectation is about a confer to Panama Pazush Senate. Don't make to Santis or Kotwaba and I fed the ashes at 10 out as Peter of Bison with as a hacker crack. None so, yeah, it's still a few hours. Yeah, I may see up to 5 a.m. Maybe East in Abbas is for my idea. Sometimes we teach in our shah. You didn't say easy, sir, but and yet better, sir. So, you see, a baby pretty per se a day. Could be boys in a more day, but like EC operations director said, a lot of the people they deal with are volunteers. Almost more junior and about should be told by a Jumano. Right. Into sometimes no to me and trust almost I say, I dare so you're not bad pepe. Now, EC boss in the cast and manager power senior machine. A Juma, yeah, no, be ashamed. sometimes nobody say some kind better, but I think by and large, a human institution, weaknesses be or be no MVP in your best, MVP, or NDC, or NDC, crowd be so Anthony crowd as all yet. Into see about my basso. Say so far the process has been so smooth, right? Although glitches kakra say yeah, they're natural. Say I'm kind of US grandpa, the omnia glitches, the omnia sa hiccups, police force so more innovation and up to the minute update as to what is happening. So far, yenti tawantawa bi yenti when you be a hard dream pan say a shrink kwabia na moje bi hwegu bi yenti bi asa ya pompa say beto abana bi a be kan bi na sa na ye de na ma kosi say Jimenez abe declare no odinkunim na enu etie so ye wo gidie say bi basabasa bi ensi na
communication expert now such that there no the issue of fake news any information distortion meaning say oko social media AI say na we share we na say for no send any petty ase normal sir because obitimi share bibi no fan so one of those things fake news any misinformation elections way then I will see you frame.
See one of the important factors I say consider a day to argue here say elections no ade fapimedina so pa ye nyabuni be kan say public opinion adwea da nkofotim ewo sebi adesua wonsem mpomodiansem yensika semu adwea ya chichira hye nkofotim nti a prebe ne ana politicians on person omo engineer consent no mo de show nkofotim say sana ade ne tie
okay
o sha say about to yenya opinion polls be say we win sometimes no utmu opinion poll say opinion poll we there chale enko yesa but about communication scholarship about psychology we have no bandwagon effect where nipa no obi abeso odo any winning team you see assume see win you and because sometimes we go my UNESCO na one of the officers say be busy issue of bandwagon effect ni opinion poll no see na e diffo no almost one bomb because say we shan come say we win dreams almost so bandwagon effect and yes I don't know what they see but sometimes you have the inclination say maybe I may be wrong but ya culture mo ya say that the population say can we and now I show so was orientation no say me can na ama ahye any campaign ahye ne kana kakra because I don't see why until sometimes a lot of times all of this misinformation no to create some particular perception in the minds of the people engineered political strategists almost the economic chichireponom to serve their ends but any health in TSA find ways
Dr. Mano say o share more political scientists there unia ba akokra chiro article bi na o share commissives any promise na o share promise ne dia akwakwa say ye ka bi o nyame ya adom a ye bompa ye se minya abato na mehwe de metimi aye na oka commissives ne de o say ye kasa oka eno de ejinamu ebi te say meshebo I will I shall I promise so o share flag bearers na omu kasa na no mo ka no ya de a o hwe se omunya omu beye based on insem omu ka che ya de a ye hwe a insem we de a ye be fan so serious and I say ebi de o ka ne trasa based on de ye hu a ye de to abey
well say wo hwe senior ye democracy I evolve and senior any over the years no first na a promising spree obi amonte platform no kansem now so o mahunu say ensem a wo keka ni nyina no when it is getting to the next elections ye de omugina ho a ye bisa omo and MPP and NDC o mahunu say always we ask them what can say obey wanye what can say obey why should we trust you now and intiano no say this particular campaign you know wo hwa MPP and NDC omo promises no e ba form even though there were one or two promises parties need be. Let me know some two about say campaign. But I think say some of the policies that parties need be say omobeyeno. You ask yourself, both parties can issues of reducing taxation. Now, baby, I do know. Yenim say omo kopiska on the international market. It is now becoming difficult because of our credit rating as a country. Where are they going to? If on ubenye sika, edia ni omsi ombe. So ube tax BFO, ube reduce tax BA. How are you going to raise revenue? Esen ubenye sika. Now they are ni opesa oyeno. And it makes me question both parties, both major parties, NDC and PP. Muniamosi mubeye. Mu hiyeska na mu de global market mu nyesika no. You have to raise those revenues locally. Monso na mo say, mo be ma tax holidays to companies. Monso na mo say, ebano to say road tolls, betting tax, some of these taxes will be here for NDC for say nuisance taxes, MPP for also can nuisance taxes. Nah, also be those taxes for you. Into this one, it makes me question. A heifer na Dr. Baumia, a heifer na President Mahama. So these ones we see that they are playing with our minds because if I want to look at it objectively, I don't see me who be who be sika but also we trust that we'll be able to do it. The promises above from and that they are now addressing issues. And I'm happy that issues now are addressing healthcare. They are talking about Mahama care, they are talking about building building hospitals. Now, one interesting thing to MPP strategy, I think that maybe it worked. Instead of cutting salt for projects, this time they didn't cut salt for projects. They're rather commissioning completed projects, which I think, in a way, is telling people, they have done it. Now, election is just some few days away, and they are now commissioning completed projects. It'd be a good strategy that might have worked for them. But promise is now above now issue-based elections. Now, even on the streets, people were no more talking about the personalities. People were talking about Nyomose Omobeye. And it excites me, say, Ghana, we are moving away from Osimesi, no, but we are not talking about Nyomose Omobeye, Nyomoye Pen. And that is what policy is all about. It's about policies. Initially, the issue of social contracts. But yes, we have a social contract with them, they have a social contract with us. Say, when you read the contractual list, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, J.J. Rousseau, they say, number one, we are giving them our rights. They are more with the mandate. In exchange, that they will give us something. They are giving us development, they are giving us security, they are giving us they are regulating society. And when these things are falling short, then it means that they are, on their own, they are abrogating the social contract. And that is not anything that the people of Ghana will go by. So, yes, we have a social contract and we expect that they will deliver on their mandate.
10 seconds.
Oh, Nana. Yenya yebon pa ese bibia be koyie. Say asundwe na kwan so na benam. Wa for asundwe no bi wa land engineer na jana o say, "Uncle, are you sure the elections will be peaceful?" I say, "Yes." Inti eso mu say, "Yen kwan na expect say bibia be koyie." Omo amanoni, omo so expect say bibia be koyie na je say, "At the end of the day no dey asundwe anante bro."
All right. But that's Kokromoti Power, your election headquarters. Aha, Adom TV, Adom FM, Insure FM, Asempa FM. Meniminia ABY, Yawaha, Yeguso, me free CJ, any tomb, Ampofonso Baba Betuaso, na Omode, the Akanons Watuaso, Tinahame and Kobe Bia, Yakwaba CCA.